And so I'd like to give a big thank you to our presenters tonight. Congressman Panetta, thank you for coming tonight from Washington, D.C. And Councilmember Arjun, Batra, appreciate that. You and Michelle and your other staff, and Captain Donohue, thanks a lot for showing up tonight to give us some more updates for our neighborhood. And Gavin Comstock is not here tonight, but I see Teri Rogoway from Open Space Authority is here. So thank you, presenters, for being here tonight. So now let's get going with the meeting. Go ahead, Karen. You're muted.
Sorry, I'm muted. Sorry about that. Just to go over the agenda real quickly, we're going to do some LPNA business with neighborhood update, and then we're going to turn it over to Congressman Panetta, followed by Councilman Batra, and then Captain Donohue will do a quick update on crime and that kind of stuff. And then we will have our featured presentation, which is Gavin Comstock of the Open Space Authority, and he's going to be talking about their work in Coyote Valley, but also highlighting Coyote Ridge, which it's actually the Mayyan Ooyakma, I think is how you say it. I'm probably butchering that, which is a new trail very near to our house. It's right across 101 from Los Paseos. So that's really exciting that we have a new trail in our area, and he's going to be talking about that and then other work that they do. And next meeting, and we'll adjourn. So Greg, did you want to continue sharing, or you said something about, okay. So first for the LPNA business, shortly we'll go over some, just a quick list of accomplishments that we've done in the past, I guess since the summer of last year. And then we'll talk about the Beautify SJ grants update with the Street Trees project, Los Paseos Park update, and the Paseo #2. There's actually multiple Paseos in our area, and there's a court signpost update, and then we're looking for volunteers for Great American Litter Cleanup on April 20th. So Greg, can you go to the next slide? So we wanted to let people know that we are a very active neighborhood association, and we have a lot of stuff going on that we try to do to improve the community. So one of the big events we do every year is a National Night Out in August. It's the first Tuesday in August of every year. And we've consistently had over 500 people in attendance. So it is a big event for our neighborhood, and it's a lot of fun if you haven't been there. We have a band, what are they called? Crimson Blues, great local band from a church nearby, but it's secular music that they play. So they do blues as well as the church music when they're doing their church stuff. But they come every year, and then we have Brian the Bubble Guy, who's a local entertainer that blows enormous bubbles, and I don't know if he holds a record, but he's actually encased a human in a bubble, things like that. We do a chalk art contest for the kids. So anyways, it's a great event, and we're very proud of that. In addition, we did a dumpster day for our community and filled like 5 or 6 huge dumpsters with a lot of garbage, and that's really beneficial for the community because it decreases illegal dumping, and it gives people the opportunity to just clean out their home. We also run a annual holiday event in partnership with the Los Paseos Homeowners Association, which is very different than a neighborhood association. So we partner with them. We sell trees for people's front yards and have a lot of crafts for kids, and LPNA provides refreshments and hot chocolate and cider and stuff like that. So that's a real fun event, and that was very well attended this year. We also do a lot of work. Kudos to, I think, Alan in particular, Alan Chan of our board, and Greg for really keeping on the graffiti in our park. They report it as soon as they see it, and I think we've actually even done some painting and cleanup of it. We had a really big problem there last year, and then there was one really bad incident this year that They just helped address really quickly. Caring for trees in the park, we'll learn a little bit more about that in a minute. Commissioning neighborhood street trees, that's a project that we're doing right now with the last year's grant from San Jose Beautify SJ. Greg's been involved with placing very nice court signs along the paseos. That'll be talked about a little bit later. He's got some pictures. We worked with our council office, both when we were in District 2, and then I think it was completed when we moved to District 10 to complete a wall at the end of Bernal Way, which prevented people from accessing our neighborhood, kind of climbing over the wall. And it was an easy in and easy out for people that might not be up to good things. Barbara and Lynn in particular have been very active with the native plant garden, especially Barbara. That's it's in Los Paseos Park, kind of by the, what do you call the tennis, kind of between the tennis courts and the track, I guess. And then we've also done a lot with the CERT team, which is Citizen Emergency Response Team. Herb and Peter are on our board, and they are very involved with that as well as Wyman Payne, who is another neighbor. So we want to just highlight some of that stuff and let you guys know the good work that we've been doing over the last, I don't know, 9 months or so. You can go to the next slide. And the grant, Barbara, do you still have no audio? Yeah, she still doesn't. Okay, so we just applied for a new grant recently, and it will be effective April 1st. We applied for 5,000. It's effective April 1st, but we have not received the money, so I think they are running behind. We will be using that for our various projects throughout the year, things like National Night Out and just other projects. I'm not sure that we have determined what we are going to do with it, but unfortunately, Greg, if you know a little bit more, maybe after I'm done here, you can pipe in. The existing grant ends March 31st. Part of that grant was for street trees. That we went around to neighbors that looked like they could use a tree in their front yard and tried to work with people to get that process. It was a little bit cumbersome. San Jose, frankly, does not make it easy to put a tree in front of your house. So we were able to get 4 trees lined up. Oh, I wasn't done. I need that.
Sorry about that. What happened?
And that is a project that was done in conjunction with our city forest.
Karen, can you hear me?
I can hear you now.
Okay, yes. I'm in a hallway. It's not going to be very,
okay, that's fine. Yeah, if you can say anything more about the grant, that would be great.
Yeah, the National Night Out is the biggest part of it. Other things are our regular social events, the holiday party, etc. Also, website support. The one new thing this year that we're putting money in for, and as I said, the grants have not been made yet. They've not been granted, so we don't know that we'll be approved for the whole 5,000, but we have been in the past. But the one new thing we're applying for is to improve the signboard that's on the side of the building in the park to a more weatherproof, more solid signboard to post community notices. So that's it, and I can go on if you want me to on the existing grant.
Do we? Oh, yes. Why don't you take it from here since you?
Okay, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I apologize. I was having trouble getting audio access. Our existing grant, which was also for 5,000, which is the maximum amount of grant the city will give, ends March 31st. So it's very soon. We're wrapping up the street trees project. We have planted 4 trees in the neighborhood. We have one other person who is having some difficulty getting a permit, and his permit is unlikely to come through soon enough for us to plant by March 31st. However, we may still be able to supply him with a tree through private donations. And we want to thank our city forest for their help. They bring out the trees and they do the planting, and we provide volunteers to help with the planting, but they actually manage the planting. And there is a map to show you where the street trees, the 4 street trees that we have planted are, but I think it comes later in the slide deck. So why don't you move on to the next slide? Go to the next slide. I think this one is a duplicate. Okay, so we planted several years ago. We planted a native plant garden in the park, and that's what these pictures are. We also planted 10 trees in the park a year ago, and we have a 3-year commitment to maintain them. So we had a January event to prune the trees, and we'll have some pictures in a minute. We also will be starting to water them as the rainy season ends. Excuse me, I'm just trying to go to a quieter place. No, I can't do that.
You're okay. You're okay. Sound good.
Okay. The native plants below. I'm sorry. This is. Just 1 second. Sorry for this. I'm sorry. I'm sharing space here.
Barbara, do you want me to kind of take over?
No, I'm all right now. So the plants on the bottom are the native plants are greening up and starting to blossom. The first photo is our California wild rose, which is leafing out nicely. We have some California poppies that are blooming. The next picture is ceanothus. It's a ground cover, low growing version. It is the buds are very small now. They will get bigger, and it should have glorious blue blossoms shortly. The manzanita, big manzanita, has already flowered, and what's on there now are berries. And the last item is blue-eyed grass, which is started blooming and will bloom for quite a while. Saturday, March 30th, we want to do a spring cleanup and weeding from 9 a.m. to 11:30, and we'll be providing coffee and donuts. If you're interested in participating in that, you can email gardner@lospaseosneighbors.com, and I will also be sending out some emails shortly to the people who have helped with the garden in the past.
Barbara, before you go on to the next slide, I don't think the previous slide was a duplicate.
It is a duplicate.
No, because it was talking about the trees in the park. I
talked about the trees in the park.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
It is a duplicate.
We can go on from here.
Okay, sorry.
Okay, move on. Move on. Okay, so these are pictures that Greg took of the trees in the park. These are the elm trees that have been growing with long branches and getting a little unruly, and our city forest helped us trim them up and restake a couple of them that didn't present a strong leader. So we learned more about pruning, and with their help, we got them well set for the next growing year. These are the 5 elms by the playground. This is the map that shows the location of the street trees that were planted under the grant. Those are different than the 10 trees that were planted a year ago. The 2 stars on the left are for Villa del Rio and Villa Maria, where we each planted a tree. We planted ginkgos there. And on Plimpton Court, 2 ends of Plimpton Court, we planted the Acer rubrum, red maple that blooms that goes quite red in the fall, and both will be giving fall color. And I think the next slide is Greg's.
In 2017, I worked with an Eagle Scout over in Paseo #1. It was called Paseo #1, which was between Avenida Rotella and the tennis courts. And we put in some signposts with the help of the city, putting in the brackets you see down there, the black brackets in the concrete. So on the left is a picture of all the new ones that I built on a shop bot. It's white paint and it's all protected with varnish. The city bought the Conhart redwood posts, and I made the posts and cut them to length and then took them over and stuck them in the ground over there. So there's one on the right at Haverhill Court. So each one of our courts now on Paseo #2 have one of these signs on it, and people really love them because as they're walking through the paseos, they don't really know what court they're on because there aren't any street signs at the end of the courts, and they take a look at these things and they know exactly where they are. They're very appreciative of the fact that they're in there. So it's pretty a neat little project we did here. That's that one. I think that's it.
I mean, one of the city councilmen.
And then the other one we've talked about is this wall at the end of Burnell Way. Michelle knows about this, and the Department of Transportation under Sergio helped put this wall in. The top of it, it extended the wall height to a normal 7-foot plus wall height, and it's helped a lot with people jumping over it from the railroad track side, Monterey Road side. What I'm working with now is I'd like to continue to make this look pretty by upgrading the finish on it and keeping it coated with a nice finish over the years whenever we think it's ready. I drove by it the other day and it still looks pretty good, but it could use a little bit of stain or finish. And I think that's it. The next slide, Barbara. Karen?
Okay, is it my turn again?
Yeah.
So one of the upcoming initiatives we're going to be working on in conjunction with the D10 office is we will be participating in the Great American Litter Cleanup, which is on April 20th. Los Paseos Park will be one of the host stations. And what that means is that they will provide equipment and supplies like trash bags and maybe some picker uppers and gloves and things like that for us to then bring to the areas that we decide need to be cleaned. Now we've kind of decided the park is in pretty good shape, so we want to focus on maybe some of the outer streets like Santa Teresa or Bernal Road and on our side, in front of the shopping center. Places that are safe with sidewalks that people can, be safe when they're picking up litter. But we thought that might be a better location. And what we're going to do is shortly before the April 20th, we'll kind of drive around and decide what the target areas are and then encourage people that come to our host table. We'll tell them, okay, these are the areas we want to target. So if you are inclined, we obviously could use as many volunteers as we can get on that Saturday. We still, this is kind of still in the works, so we will be announcing further details. But if you are interested in helping us out, you can send an email to either president at lospaseosneighbors.com or VP at lospaseosneighbors.com. I'll put that in the chat. Yeah, so that's a save the date. Next slide.
That's it. That was it, Barbara.
Okay.
I can tell you too that our office will be sending you a flyer shortly. I think probably by Monday or so, we should be sending you out a flyer for that event.
Okay, thank you.
All right, I'm not sure what happened there, Karen.
All right. So our next, I think Congressman Panetta is next on the agenda. So we'll hand it over to you.
Great. Thank you. Good evening, everybody. I hope everything's going well. Again, and thanks for this opportunity to say hello to Los Paseos Neighborhood Association. Appreciate this chance to and I'm going to keep it just short because I know we're limited on time, but I just kind of wanted to introduce myself and also kind of put out the resources as to what's available to you from our congressional office. But again, I represent the 19th Congressional District. I've been a United States representative for going on 8 years right now, but only represented the 19th and therefore only represented South San Jose and only represented the Los Paseos neighborhood for the past year since January of 2023. Prior to that, I was representing the 20th Congressional District. The 20th Congressional District was all of Monterey County, all of Santa Cruz, well, most of Santa Cruz County except the top, all of San Benito County and Gilroy. So it kind of made sense, pretty compact. The quote unquote Independent Redistricting Commission used that district as hamburger helper to make Zoe Lofgren's district to the east of mine. And my district kind of went from looking like a fist to looking like an L. And that your congressional district now goes from South San Jose up over into Santa Cruz County, most of Santa Cruz County, excluding Watsonville, then down the Monterey County coastline, all the way to Cambria. You then hit Cambria and you take a hard turn east all the way out to the Kern County border, with Atascadero being the most southern town in your congressional district. So it goes pretty much from Lake Cunningham, like I said, all the way down to Cambria. As I like to say it, we got a lot of semiconductor chips and we got a lot of cow chips as well. So it's a very diverse district. It's a very big district, but clearly it's a very dynamic district. Just let me go into the neighborhoods of San Jose so you kind of know it. Generally, I'll just give you the neighborhood. So kind of, like I said, the most northern part is Lake Cunningham, Evergreen to Edenvale, Silver Creek, Santa Teresa, Los Paseos, Blossom Valley, Almaden Valley, Coyote Valley. Those are the neighborhoods. To give you an outline of the boundaries, I'll kind of work my way up from Almaden Expressway. You hit Capitol Expressway, then you go straight east until Capitol hits Monterey. You go down Monterey a little bit till Center, take Center up and around to Silverdale. Silverdale hits Yerba Buena. You take Yerba Buena under Highway 101. Yerba Buena hits Silver Creek. Take Silver Creek back up north till it hits Capitol Expressway. Capitol Expressway all the way up to Lake Cunningham, and then go around Lake Cunningham, and then it cuts down at the foothills of Evergreen area there and kind of goes behind Silver Creek. It's like I said, it's clearly some lines were drawn squiggly, but the fact is that, you know, most of the area of South San Jose that I represent, you know, is a lot of neighborhoods. And so this is why it's very, very important for me to at least get in front of you, let you know I'm your member. Some people let you know you've been redistricted. Some people still don't know. I get it. And let you know you're no longer with Zoe Lofgren or Anna Eshoo. You're with Jimmy Panetta, and that you are part of the 19th Congressional District. So kind of wanted to give you an overview of what your congressional district entails, at least geographically, in all, but also in South San Jose, what the 19th Congressional District consists of in South San Jose. The way I look at this job, for your information, is sort of, I got kind of three responsibilities. There's three legs of the stool. The first one is obviously legislation, federal legislation to affect us here in the 19th Congressional District. And so there's a number of pieces we're working on. I'm going to get into that in the values when I talk a little bit later. The second area is federal funding, bringing in federal funding for local projects. So, for example, I'm going to be doing a press conference with Mayor Mayyan. We're going to be talking about the millions of dollars that I secured for a couple of housing projects recently as well. And that's coming up. So once again, using the federal power of the purse to affect like kind of local infrastructure, local projects to make sure that we benefit from federal investment. So that's kind of the second area. And then the third area, which I really want to hit on, is casework. What do I mean by that? Look, I cannot stress it enough that if you have a problem with the federal government, please come to me. I am your federal representative, okay? Not local. That's Councilman Batra, who does an excellent job as councilman there in that area. I've worked with him and I've done town halls with him, and he does a good job. You know, but he handles the local issues, the city issues. Not county issues, that's your supervisor, not state issues, but federal issues. So if you have an issue with the IRS, with Social Security, with immigration, with Veterans Affairs, with Medicare, those types of areas where you pick up the phone and you try calling and no one answers the damn phone, which normally can be that in a federal bureaucracy. Please know you can call my office. Please know that we can help you make the federal government work for you. I cannot stress that enough. That's a very important part of my job. And it's kind of bemusing to me that there's a lot of people who don't understand that we're there to be that bridge to the federal government and back. And so we work very hard on casework, making sure that our constituents from San Jose to Santa Cruz to Monterey, all the way down to San Luis Obispo County, get that basically that attention when it comes to making the federal government work for them. So that's kind of just, we really wanted to let you know that. Now, the areas that I'm really kind of focused on as the representative of the 19th Congressional District is all about the 19th Congressional District. What do I mean by that? Well, we have a lot of bees in our district, as I say. So we got a lot of beauty. Hands down, it's in my biased opinion, I get it, but hopefully yours, you do live in the most beautiful congressional district, and that any congressional district any congressional district that stretches from Santa Cruz down the Monterey County coastline all the way to Hearst Castle and San Simeon is the most beautiful district. So with that, obviously, with that beauty, though, comes responsibility, as I learned growing up in the 19th Congressional District. And so we got to make sure that we continue to protect what we put in place so that our beauty endures, but also do anything we can to ensure that that beauty lasts for our future, such as what we did last Congress with the Inflation Reduction Act, making sure that we implemented a bill, the IRA, that was the largest investment in human history to reduce our carbon output by incentivizing tax credits for that, not penalizing, but incentivizing, which is very important. So you got a lot of beauty. My responsibility to make sure the federal government plays its part to help with that protection. We got a lot of bounty. So we do have agriculture, like I said. You are in the same congressional district as the largest cattlemen's association in California, all the way down in northern San Luis Obispo County. But we also have a lot of agriculture that goes up the Monterey County coastline and then into the Santa Cruz coastline as well. I lost to Salinas Valley. That, like I said, Zoe Lofgren now has the salad bowl of the world. But what I like to say is what I lost in lettuce, I gained in wine and steak, which is not bad, not a bad trade-off. So we got a lot of bounty in our district. Obviously, I'm focused on the upcoming farm bill that we need to pass this year, making sure that we continue to invest in research and development so that we can continue to have sustainable agriculture, which is very important. And then I'm on the Ways and Means Committee and on the Trade Subcommittee. So continuing to protect our trade and making sure that the manufacturing companies that you do have, especially there in South San Jose at that 101-85 corridor, that they continue to have markets overseas to export their items we're working on. So beauty, bounty, we got bases. You got mini military installations, not so much obviously in San Jose. In fact, the only federal entity that I've found, and please correct me if I'm wrong, the only federal entity that I found in the 19th Congressional District in the Santa Clara County portion that I represent is the VA clinic right there at 101 and 85 or just north of that. I'm sure you all know where that is. So that's what I represent, at least in the federal entity there. But you have many military installations down in Monterey as well. No longer do you have Fort Ord, but you got, Navy Postgraduate School, Defense Language Institute, PERSEREC, DMDC, Naval Research Lab, Naval Weather Lab, Fort Hunter Liggett. I get a part of that, although Zoe has most of it now, and Camp Roberts as well. So many military installations. So I'm also on the Armed Services Committee, making sure that our installations are protected and invested in. You got $1.4 billion to the economy they bring in, as well as 15,000 jobs for our friends and neighbors in the 19th Congressional District. So do everything we can to protect those, and being on the Armed Services Committee helps with that. And then I think the last B that I like to focus on, and really is the number one issue that brings the 19th Congressional District together, and that's bedrooms or the lack of bedrooms. Well, more importantly, the lack of affordable bedrooms. And so affordable housing is something that I focused on and will continue to focus on, especially being on the Ways and Means Committee that has purview over the tax code. Let me just give you a couple of the big bills that I'm working on that focuses on affordable housing or how we incentivize affordable housing, be it in my role on the Ways and Means Committee, which, like I said, has purview over the tax code. First and foremost, low-income housing tax credits are important to incentivize the development of LIHTC, but also middle-income housing tax credits. Look, I think we all understand, sure, yes, supporter of LIHTC, low-income housing tax credits, but in our area, we have a lot of people who work and can afford to buy, and they don't qualify for low-income housing because they make too darn much. We get that. So they're really kind of stuck without any sort of options at this point. So you see a lot of people who spend way too much time in their commute coming into our community and not enough time in our community. You see a lot of people who work here but don't live here. And so I wrote a bill, a bipartisan bill, Democrats and Republicans together, that basically created a middle income housing tax credit, a workforce housing tax credit, to make sure that we have incentives to build workforce housing is one bill. Second bill I've introduced is called the More Homes on the Market bill. And so let me give you the example of who this kind of really focuses on. I think we all understand, and we all know this example. You have people who have owned their homes since, maybe 70s, 80s, 90s, even the early 2000s. And you know that since then, the price of that home has shot through the roof. And you know that those same people who own that home want to have grown out of their homes and they want to sell their homes. But you also know what happens when they would do that. They would take a huge hit on their taxes and they would lose that nest egg that they've invested in over all of those years in their home. And so there is a thing right now called the capital gains tax exemption. It basically says that if you're a single filer, you get up to $250,000 exemption. If you're a double filer, you get up to $500,000 tax exemption on the sale of your home. You as well as I do, that's just not enough because your homes, a lot of people's homes, especially in South San Jose, they've made a lot more money than that, and they're going to take a big hit when it comes to taxes. I wrote a bill based on my discussions with people up in San Jose to double those exemptions, to make that basically $500,000 for a joint filer and $1 million for, $500,000 for a single filer, $1 million for a joint filer, because I think people need to be encouraged and incentivized to sell their homes, and they can do that by making sure that they get the benefit of that nest egg that they protected and built for all these years. Third bill I wrote and just introduced recently is the first-time home buyers tax credit. When my wife and I bought our first home, we got that $10,000 tax credit from the federal government. I want to bring that back. That went away in 2006. I want to bring that back and make it $15,000 for qualifying home buyers, which I think is important to incentivize that. And then for our renters, I introduced a bill called the Rent Relief Act, which basically says that if you're a renter, you pay more than a third of your income towards your annual rent, you get a federal tax credit at the end of the year. So just kind of wanted to give you a couple of the ideas of the legislative efforts that we're working on in order to focus on the number one issue, at least at the federal level, in the 19th Congressional District, and that's affordable housing. Also, kind of to tie it in, I have 4 district offices. I think I'm one of the few members of Congress that have 4 district offices. I can tell you Anna doesn't, Zoe doesn't, and Rocher as heck doesn't, because their districts are all pretty compact. I have 4. That means I have 1 in Paso Robles, I have 1 in Monterey, I have 1 in Santa Cruz, and of course I have 1 in South San Jose. 841 Blossom Hill Road. Again, 841 Blossom Hill Road in San Jose. You're going to find Alyssa Garcia Marquez, who runs that office, and Laura Ludwig, who also works there. Those are my 2 San Jose staffers. More than happy to help you out with anything that you need there. The number is 408-960-0333. Again, 408-960-0333. So once again, I'm Jimmy Panetta, your United States Representative for the 19th Congressional District in the Los Paseos neighborhood. Look forward to helping you any way I can to make the federal government work for you. Thanks for this opportunity to say hello and introduce myself, and I look forward to seeing you in the district in person. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. That was a lot of information, and we so appreciate. I really appreciate that you have a local office. Just to put in a plug, I did have still having an IRS issue, but I did work with your staff, and they are. I feel like it's making progress. It hasn't been totally resolved, but when you mention IRS problems, I'm like, I've been waiting. I think it's 14 months right now. It's a fraud case again. Fraud case. Somebody filed taxes with my husband's social. So anyway, so I appreciate you having a local office, and I appreciate the help with that issue.
Sure. And Karen, you call it, it's Karen Latin, Lattin. Okay, good. I'll have my staff check up on that, and we'll follow up with you this week.
Okay. I'll reach out. I meant to do that this week anyways, because I was thinking it's been a while since I gave them my ID. What's going on now? But yeah, I appreciate it.
Understood. Like I said, I'll email my staff right now, and we'll give you a call tomorrow.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Congressman Jimmy. We have another hand raised. Maybe he wants to ask a question. Herb?
Good evening, sir. Wanted to get with you on a couple items. I was in a D2 leadership meeting earlier this week, and they're having problems with the railroad. So I was wondering, can you help us with that, UP, and cleaning up around the railroad issues? Because really everybody parses it off, So yeah. if you could look into that for me, or have your staff call us, and we'll get in touch with D2, District 2 over there. That would be helpful.
Yeah, no, affirm on that. Look, this is an issue we dealt with quite a bit in Salinas, California, when that was part of my congressional district, especially with the homeless, unfortunately. They just go back there and dump a bunch of stuff along the tracks. And obviously that, can create a lot of issues, not just safety purposes, but obviously clutter purposes and blight purposes. And we actually worked with UP, Union Pacific, and then combine that efforts with the city so that they get out there and clean that up. So the answer is yes, we've done that before. Be happy to look into it at this point. Herb, should I have my staff reach out to you to track that?
That's fine. Yeah, they can. They got my number, and I got your number, so fine.
Okay, do me a favor.
Yes.
Herb Bowen, give me your number, please, if that's okay, if you don't mind, over this
all
line.
These people will be calling me. They call me already. I don't give your cell number out. Why do I give mine out? Okay.
You can private chat it. You can private chat it to him. You can go to chat and you pick his name.
They have my number and stuff. They know who I am. I mean, when Kent was there's a bunch of notes to the ladies already, so they can get a hold of me concerning that issue. I just want to get everybody together because we got to get the city, the county, everybody. But if you can push down and we push up, maybe we can get some resolve on it. So it's KD6IRG@yahoo.com.
His name
they have all my information. The other thing that came up was water. Our Almaden Lake is polluted. We got Lake Cunningham. I was wondering if you can get the EPA pushed a little bit to help us clean up the mercury issue over there at Almaden.
Yeah. I haven't. I've been working very closely with Candelas on Lake Cunningham. We actually got $500,000 for reviving Lake Cunningham. That's yet to be announced. That's one of the things we're going to announce not next week, but the week after, with Mayor Mayyan. So get ready for that. That's part of the cleanup on it. And then I'll continue to work with Councilman Candelas on that type of issue when it comes to the cleanup. Now, whether or not the EPA can come in, I haven't heard that, and I haven't heard that request. But like I said, we'll continue to track it. And I've proven that based on the amount of money that I'm bringing in for it. And I told Councilman Candelas, you have my commitment to continue to make sure federal resources are given to that park that means so much to that community.
Well, we could have you push the water district too a little bit on Almaden Lake. Yeah. So maybe a little pressure can be put there. And yeah, do that. That'd be great. And thanks for your support as CERT.
April, thank you.
Thank you so much.
And Congressman, since Lake Almaden is in our district, where you were there last year on the 4th of July. And,
thanks to your invitation. Thank you.
And we're going to take you again this time. We're already planning on that one. The invitation is almost ready to be sent to you. And we are counting on walking in a planned manner with all the booths and everything. So we'd like your help with the Lake Almaden, just like what you're doing with the Lake Cunningham. So I'd like to work with you on that one. Okay.
Yeah, Councilman, of course. Definitely make sure that we let's talk and let's try to figure out the exact ask, because obviously,
Sure.
and what I mean by that is we worked through Candelas because he's the one who made the request because that's
Sure.
his district. But ultimately it goes through the city. So the city has to make that request to the federal government. So let's work with the city of San Jose to make sure that it's properly done as well, because that held us up a little bit in that sense. So let's continue to work with them on that, but be happy
Yeah.
to, definitely.
Yeah, and seeing that you got $500 million there, we want to make sure that the Lake Almaden continues to be used by all the residents, and not just for District 10, but everybody else, with 20,000 people coming together on the 4th of July. And so we want to make sure and things are available in a clean
No,
and
Look, absolutely, you have my commitment, but like I said, we gotta make sure all our I's are dotted and our T's are crossed when it
Yeah.
comes to exactly how we do this. So one, you gotta make sure you know exactly what you want, okay? Two, we gotta work through the city on this, and we'll be happy to work together with you. But that's the specific request has got to come from them. It's got to be exactly what you got to know what you want and exactly what you mean, kind of have a number in mind, and then we can put in that request for next year's appropriations if you have that in time. But happy to work with you on that. Herb and Miss Latin, I just got a text from my staffer who's listening. Alyssa's online, and she said that she'll follow up with both of you tomorrow.
Right. Thank you, guys. Thank you and your team so much for joining us. I think we need to move on, though, to Councilman Batra. I think is next, just because we're considerably behind schedule as usual.
Okay.
We're notorious
All
for that, but we are so thankful for you to take time. And I know it's late there, and we really appreciate your presentation and just your openness and availability. Thank you so much.
Okay. Thank you very much for giving me the opportunity to speak, and especially opportunity to speak after the congressman. And it has been a little bit unfair because Congressman, I have followed him a few times. It's very difficult to follow a congressman who has the semiconductor chips and also the cow chips in the same territory. Okay, so but we'll do our best to get through this one. Okay. First of all, I want to thank the Las Paseos Neighborhood Association for doing all the things which you do. And Karen, you went through the list of recent activities, and I think those are very impressive. And those are the type of things you have been doing for years. And that's why your neighborhood association has created a cleaner, safer, a extremely active neighborhood. This is an exemplary neighborhood. We want to publicize this. We want to replicate this. And I want to make an announcement today that in your next meeting, hopefully it's going to be in person in 3 months, I will be there to bring you a commendation to the association from the city of San Jose, signed by mayor and all the 10 council members for all the work you have done for your neighborhood. So
Thank you for that.
Thank you.
and the second announcement I want to make is Greg talked about keeping that wall beautiful, which the council member Sergio Jimenez got you built. To keep that beautiful, if you need any assistance with the money for the paint or anything, my office will be ready to provide you that. If you don't need it, great. But if you do, my office will provide, and we're making that commitment right here in front of all the other people. Okay. So we'll be held accountable for that.
Thank
Okay.
you, Councilman. We'll keep all very nice looking in your name. Thank you.
Okay. All right. And all the events which you are planning, especially the National Night Out, I will be there with you to celebrate that event. Okay. Now, I want to take to Amal, if you can put the slide on.
I think I'm in charge of that. I'm so sorry.
Okay.
Yeah,
Yes,
let me, shoot, I thought I had it up. Hold on, just give me a second. So
Sure.
sorry. I thought I had opened it, but, let's see. Da, 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 da. Meetings. I think it's this one. Yep, okay, give me a second here. So Greg, am I able to share my screen? Oh, yep, there we go. Can you all see that?
Okay. Yeah. Okay. So for the city of San Jose, the most important activity is kicked off on March 11th, when the mayor announced his March budget message. And in this message, basically, it is a direction to the city manager to bring in the budget, the cost estimates, how we're going to be able to do the things which this community has considered important and wanted done. So the community's priorities, which the mayor has relayed, they're the same one, the focus areas which were published last year. So the job to continue, keep doing what we started doing. You look at the 4 items, which is reducing unsheltered homelessness, increasing community safety, which is the public safety, traffic safety, and all that, cleaning up our neighborhoods, and attracting investment and jobs and housing, because we're short of housing, but we're also short of jobs here, because we get about 0.8 jobs for resident and 80 jobs to 100, which is not giving us enough tax revenues and giving us the money which we need to provide all the services we need. So we have to keep working on that one, attracting. So these were the same priorities which were given last year in 2023-24. We've been working very diligently. So we've learned some lessons from those. So the 24-25 plan, even though it keeps the same priorities, but our approach to doing these is going to be different, because we have learned some of the things and we want to incorporate those refinements in terms of doing these jobs. The very first one, which you look at it, reducing unsheltered homelessness. We brought the cost of putting into the shelter a person or a bed about 100,000 from $1 million. Even that doesn't scale to the number of people we have to shelter, which is 4,600 today in city of San Jose. That doesn't include about 850 RVs, which people are living in vehicles or RVs. So in order to scale this thing, we have to find even a cheaper solution. We reduced the time to build these shelters from 5 years, which is the affordable home takes from conception to occupancy, to somewhere about a year and a half for the so-called quick build. But we need actually quicker build than that, because year and a half is even too long. So Councilmember Duan and I wrote an MBA and asked the city manager to investigate other options of being able to provide cheaper and quicker options for creating these shelters, manufactured homes, insulated tents, and creating congregate shelters. So those are all the options on the table, which city manager's office has been asked to investigate and come back during the budget process. As I said, that the budget process is just kicked off in March. It really closes in June, on June 30th, when the new budget period starts from July 1st. And we expect that we're going to have identified in this budget process cheaper ways of building things, quicker ways of building things, and also identify some sites. Because one of the biggest problem with building these shelters is, keep it on that one, please, the same slide, because we didn't want to put too many slides together here. Just wanted to give the synopsis of this thing. Hopefully we can get you back sometime today. So you're going to see those quicker build, cheaper build, and the biggest problem we have is, where do we build these shelters? We have identified some sites in Councilmember Dawn and my memo, and we need to identify those sites and also consider what the cost will be of preparing those sites, because some need cleanup work and some environmental stuff. So we have to find those sites which will be possible within the budget to do these things and get more of these done quicker and move these people from the unsheltered to the sheltered place. Because when we have the unsheltered people, homelessness, we have said, is not a crime. But when the homeless people, vulnerable people are together in encampments, crime can certainly find its way to get there. The criminal activities are beginning or sometimes abound in those areas. And one of the common complaints I heard from the community when I had community meetings, that it looks like city doesn't want to enforce or has abandoned all its laws and ordinances, does not want to enforce anything. And as a result, these encampments begin to attract too much of criminal activity and nothing really gets stopped. In this budget message, which is 27 pages long, whose link we'll give it to you, you can look at that yourself. The word enforcement and enforced is mentioned 20 times, because I took your message that the city seems to be not enforcing anything, not practicing any of our safe practices, rules, and regulations. That feedback has resulted in the budget message having 27 pages, about 20 times mention the word either enforcement or enforced, suggesting to the city manager finding tools, finding rules, finding resources to enforce and make it apparent that we will be enforcing our rules and not allow these criminal enterprises develop because there's an homeless encampment. So I wanted to share that with you. And in the budget message, you would also find that one of the common complaints we had when we built these shelters, we had an encampment, we have built a shelter. We moved that encampment into the shelter for a few days, maybe few hours, sometimes few weeks. Now you only have a shelter with the people accommodated in there, but you do not have any encampment. And whatever the consequences of having an encampment, or you don't have those anymore. Within weeks or days, a new encampment develops. Now you have in that neighborhood both a shelter and you have all the consequences of having an encampment. So the benefits which we tell the community that if we build a shelter in your community and we remove that encampment, you do not see those benefits anymore happening because you don't experience those, because you still have another encampment. It's not the same people maybe, but whatever the encampment's problems are, those like people cooking in the open flame and being risky to the fence of the house behind which they are living, those people being worried that their house can go in flames anytime, whether it's those people who have been moved into the interim housing or the new ones came in and these got back, the exposure to that house stayed the same. So they don't see any benefit of having allowed an EIH to be built there. In this one, you see in the budget message, there's a clear message saying preserving the progress we make, which is preserving the progress means that when we have cleaned up an area, we want it to stay clean. And hence, we may clean a mile by mile, a square by square. Eventually, when we build enough of these EIH, we would have cleaned up San Jose, and we should be able to have a homelessness-free society or the city. And you would read that in the budget message on, I think, page 7 or so, where we talk about preserving our progress. So I wanted to highlight these couple of things from our budget because that's the most important thing going on right now, because we got to put our money and our effort in the direction which community wanted. And I believe this budget does that. We have specific sites to talk about. If you ask any question, I'll be happy to answer that. But at a generic level, I'd like you to read this budget message and stay involved in the development of this budget message, because the budget is not going to be ratified till 30th of June. And your input, your demands, are very critical to having a budget which is suitable for this city. You certainly have your voice through me, and I need your input, and you need to stand with me to demand the things which your portion needs and the whole of San Jose needs. So you have my commitment that I will be expressing your voice and your demands, your needs, and your input properly at the city level, which is what I've been doing for 14 months. And you have my commitment for that. With that one, I want to say that you have multiple ways of connecting with me. We do have some events coming up. You already mentioned that. And on March 23rd, we have Talk with Batra. That's one of the most important things to me, that I like to have your input. I want to share with you whatever is happening in the city. And these Talk with Batra, I do in person and in Zoom. The next one is on Zoom. And I would appreciate as many of you as can come there. We have a community meeting coming up regarding the Via del Oro site. And that one is actually, I will be there, but that's being hosted by our housing and homelessness group. Then we have a special meeting coming up, which is the town hall hosted by me. And that's going to strictly focus on safety. You will have your favorite captain with me at that one. And we will be talking about safety, giving information on how we can be safe, how can we feel safe, and whatever our captain and his team are doing to make us safe. We have Great America Litter Pickup Day. You said already on April 20th, and I'll be there with you. The shredding and e-waste in December, we did for the first time in District 10. We have done dumpster days for a long time, but shredding and e-waste, when one of the community meetings I was having, I was asked why we don't have shredding and e-waste day. We started doing that in December. We intend to do those almost every quarter. And we want you to be able to get rid of your old TVs, and also you can buy new ones when the Christmas comes around. And we want to be able to get your old tax paper, Karen. Hope you get your tax issues resolved so you can get rid of these paper in one of these days on the shredder. Okay. So keep looking to working with you in all these events and coming to your neighborhood association meetings and joining you and sharing with you all this information. And I love working with this neighborhood association like with everybody else.
Thank you so much, Councilmember Batra. We really appreciate your presence and your availability. Again, you're very available when we need to connect with you, and your office is very responsive. So we've always appreciated working with you. I don't see any hands up, and because we are really running late on time, I think we should just move into Captain Donohue's presentation. But again, we really appreciate the information you've provided and your support for listening to us and what our concerns are.
And I'll second what Karen says, big time. Thank you, Arjun.
Thank you. Thank you, Greg.
Okay, Captain Donohue, you have the floor.
All right. Hi, everybody. Good evening. So I'll go over the stats real quick before we get started talking about some other stuff. The first thing is burglaries in the last 30 days. You've had none, no vehicle, no commercial, and no residential. So that's awesome. You had one robbery, and that occurred at the 76 gas station. It was just a strong arm robbery. Somebody came in, stole something, and then used force to get out. It's not an armed robbery. It was just they used force to get away. And then you had one aggravated assault, but it was a domestic violence, which is totally common. You had no homicides. We had one injury collision on Santa Teresa Boulevard and Cheltenham. And then other than that, you've had no major incidents that flew onto my radar. We've had good success with the gang issues in the area of Los Paseos Park. I do want to give some kudos to your neighborhood and to our violent crimes enforcement team for going out there and doing a gang sweep on some of the gangsters that were causing problems. I don't know, is Randall on this email or this group? Sorry, is Randall here anywhere? No. Okay, maybe Greg wants to say something nice about how you guys have been working together, or not. Greg's just looking down. He's trying to avert eye contact.
I think you're talking about Randy.
Randall Vasquez.
Yeah, Randy.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah, he's very helpful when he takes his walk at night. He works some strange shift, and he walks all times of the night, and he's been very helpful.
Yeah, it's been great. I've been getting great photos, and of course, my friend Alan sends me photos of what's happening over there in the bathroom. He has to go to the bathroom a lot, like every night. I don't know what it is, but he takes pictures when he goes in there. Also weird, but it's cool because he sends them all to me, and so that's good. And then I was asked by Herb to talk a little bit about redistricting. So let me tell you what's going on with that. We have received the second draft of the redistricting proposal from the consultant, and there was some glaring gaps in it. There were things that they had not done yet, and I sent it back for revision. So I know I'm kind of a pain in the neck that way with the consultant, but that's my job, and I want to make sure that it's done right and done thoroughly. And so they're thrilled that I sent it back, and I'm meeting with them on Monday to discuss it. But my problem is this, that when we look at redistricting the city, this is a massive undertaking. And the last time we did this was 25 years ago. So we can expect another 25 years of whatever we come up with on this. And I don't want it to be done haphazardly. So I think that's probably why they gave me the project, is that I'm going to be very thorough about it. So I sent it back to them for revisions. We were going to stop at 2 drafts. We're not now. We're going to make them do a third. And hopefully the third will be the final one, and then it'll present to council after that. So that's where we are with redistricting. The plan itself, right now, they have looked at the way we staff our department. Do we have enough staffing? And of course, that that's a big no. We don't have enough staffing. We're looking at how to deploy the personnel, what shifts they need to work, where they should be working, what lines should we change between districts. One of the major things we're looking at is getting rid of the beat structure. And I think you're going to find that service is going to go up when that happens. And I'll explain why. If you imagine Los Paseos neighborhood as one beat. Oh, thanks for spotlighting me. You can get a real good shine off the top of my head here, whoever put me on spotlight. But
you okay with that?
Yeah, I'm totally good with that. So imagine Los Paseos as one beat. Well, what happens right now is we have kind of built into our culture a huge beat responsibility. And what that means is, look, I'm responsible for what happens in my area. And because of that, I don't want other people like having to come in and do work in my area. So let's say I'm tied up at a call at the hospital over at Santa Teresa, and I can't get to the call to take a report in my beat. And it's not emergent. It's just somebody that had something vandalized or a car broken into or something like that. Well, what's going to happen is your call's going to wait until I'm free because of our beat responsibility. Well, if we get rid of this whole beat structure, anybody in my district can take that report, and it's incumbent upon the sergeant then to even the reports out across the district. And in doing so, you're going to find that lower priority calls get responded to a lot quicker because it's just the next person up. Next person up takes that call, not necessarily the person responsible for that particular beat. And I think that's going to increase the response times on a lot of our priority 3 calls. So that's just one of the many, many changes that are proposed in this report. I mean, it talks about everything from adding CSOs and dispatchers to how to deploy them better, how to work the beat structure, everything you could possibly imagine. So that's redistricting. I'm going to answer a couple of questions now. We'll start with you, Karen.
Yeah, one of the things I've noticed is that when there is an incident, like there's 5 or 14 cop cars. And I'm like, okay, I hear on all these meetings, Captain Donohue say we're short-staffed, and we have this huge huge Southern district. Why do they all come to this one incident, which seems fairly minor at the time? So yeah, explain that.
Well, okay, yeah, thanks. It's a great question. So there's 2 reasons why they come. First off, they're friends and they like each other. They like to hang out together. Okay, you all do the same thing.
That's not a good reason.
But it's totally true. Right.
It's
I mean, if
like gossip. Oh, we all want the action.
Right. We all do the same thing. We eat dinner together, right? We eat with friends. We spend time together. So that's part of it. But the other part is that we have found that if you think of everything as a pie, we like to bite off as many pieces of the pie as possible. So if I come to all my partners' calls, I can take a little sliver of their pie instead of making them eat the whole thing by themselves. So that is, it creates an environment where things get handled much, much faster. I'll give you an example. Let's say there's just a collision between 2 cars, okay? Just a simple collision, no major injuries, just 2 people hit each other, but we're going to take a report about it, okay? When that happens, you have someone who has to get a statement from the driver of the at-fault vehicle. Then you have a statement from the driver of the victim vehicle. Then you have someone who has to get all the info on the vehicles themselves, the insurance cards, the registration. You have someone who has to get the what we call the area of impact, which is the location, the actual collision the 2 vehicles touched. And to do that, they have to use a roll of tape and kind of measure it out. It's very, very semi-precise, okay? So to do all that, think of that as 4 tasks. Now we can give those 4 tasks to one officer, which would take him somewhere between 30 and 50 minutes to do. Or we get 4 cars to respond. They each do the task and they're out of there in 10 to 15 minutes, right? So that's why you end up seeing so many cars come. Now that is a simple call. Imagine as the call complexity goes up, when you have a domestic violence incident, for example, now you have a pretty involved statement from 2 separate parties and every child that was in the residence, the neighbor who called it in, right? We're trying to get camera video. We're trying to get witnesses. We're running everybody out. Somebody's going to get arrested and they're going to get transported and booked, right? So everybody bites off a piece of this pie, making smaller slivers, gets the pie eaten faster and gets us back on the road so we can help somebody quicker.
Thank you. Very interesting.
Sure.
Herb?
Okay, there's more of that too. If it is a fatal or some other case, you're going to have more cops there. You need somebody to photograph it. So there's special guys that do that. So just so you know, it's just not one just beat officer. It gets more people involved.
Yeah.
Yeah. So another question was, I did the D2 meeting with you, and they have a lot of calls there. Holy smokes.
Yeah, they do.
We should be lucky compared to the calls that D2 has. And I guess in this redistricting, will we see like in D5 with Captain Sanchez over there, he's got 5 officers in a little area. Will he get more through this redistricting?
Yeah, so it's going to balance out in 2 different ways. It's going to balance out based on call volume, severity, and time held, right? Which is, it kind of creates a formula of, if the call is more dangerous, if the call necessitates more people, how long it takes to complete all the report writing and everything. That is kind of one factor. And the other factor is all the geography and getting people around. So based on all this kind of number crunching, it's going to create an environment where maybe our division or our district, if you will, like District Yellow, ends up being a little bit smaller, right? And we give some or get some based on the call volume, right? Now I know that we don't have a lot of crime down here. Your area is very, very low crime, all things considered. So with that, you're going to find less officers assigned to your area compared to, say, District Lincoln, who has a tremendous amount of crime, and that's in Western Division. As we redraw these lines, we want everyone to even out. And when the consultant first did their first kind of run at it, they gave us 20% plus or minus average. Well, what that means is every single district in the city ended up either 20% above the average or 20% below the average of calls for service and response times and stuff. The problem is that is a 40% swing. That's huge. So when I sent it back to them last week, I said, I want it a 25% swing. So I want you 12.5% above or 12.5% below, not 20%. And so they're going to have to tighten up their kind of distribution of calls for service and redrawing the lines. And to do that, it's gonna take some work. But if they do it correctly, a district with 5 officers should have about the same response times as another district with 5 officers anywhere in the city, right? It should be equal if everything's perfect. And if it's not equal, it's within 25% of equal, right? Does that answer your question, Herb? I assume it does, because I think Herb loves me deep down inside. Okay, there's a
Really? Well, I
think
have to tell everybody that you're going to be recognized next week at the Sharks game. So congratulations. At Monday's night meeting, I thought he was going to, this man has done more for our district than any other. I really appreciate him for that. The crosswalks with the cop thing is, he got what, 4 now, or are you working on 5? So,
yeah, I got a 5th one coming in a couple of weeks over by 7 Trees. Yeah.
Yeah. So great job. I appreciate you big time. Thanks,
Herb. We do have something in the chat that I wanted to touch on from Mr. Van Dam. He says that people used to have scanners and used to be able to listen to our radio channels. So unfortunately, there is no way that we can let you listen to radio channels now. And this is actually a federal government thing. So what happened was the federal government went to, I think it's called CVRA, and I could be wrong. If anybody on here knows the right initials, feel free to correct me. But basically it says that if you are going to transmit any personally identifiable information, that has to be on a scrambled channel. You can't transmit over open air so other people could hear it. Well, we often transmit personally identifiable information like name and date of birth, address, phone number, social security, driver's license numbers, those kind of things. So because of our standard operating procedures to transmit that, we don't have the ability to allow the public to listen to our radio channels anymore. Other departments have dealt with it differently. Like there are some departments that kept their radio channels open, but then had a party channel where you switch over to a scrambled channel. An encrypted one is what it is, encrypted. And you could run the person over there. But we found that there's an officer safety issue in doing that. And the reason being is, let's say I go on a car stop and I pull over Herb. Now we all know Herb is wanted for I don't know, theft. Okay. But let's say I run Herb on a party channel. Well, all my partners aren't on that party channel. They're on a regular district channel doing dispatch on regular calls. So none of them will know that I'm out with somebody who's wanted or dangerous or anything like that. So as a result, I could get myself into a situation where now I'm in a fight with a guy on a radio channel where no one can hear me or help me, but because I'm encrypted and running it that way. So to solve that problem, what we did was we put all radio channels in the city encrypted. When that happened, the public could no longer listen to them. It created a safer environment for our officers, but it reduced the transparency. And this was something we struggled a lot with, whether or not we were going to keep doing it that way. We heard a lot of people who were really upset, especially the media, because they couldn't track our calls and show up on events before we did. So that was really frustrating for them. But you know what? It created an environment where we abided by the federal law and we provided for the officer safety so that everybody can hear what's happening on the radio channel.
And the criminals couldn't hear anymore either.
Yeah, crooks. Yeah, they can't hear
that's
our
important.
scrambled channels either. Yeah. All right.
Okay,
Any
you
other
guys.
questions?
I don't see any hands up and I don't see anything in the chat, and we are so behind schedule. So again, we appreciate all the information you provide, and always nice to hear that we're one of the safest neighborhoods. We keep telling our neighbors that, you know, they don't always believe us. We're like, what are you? Yeah. It is interesting. I do hear a little bit more stuff on Nextdoor. So I think a lot of stuff goes unreported. I hear, I mean, I go, you know, I'm not on Nextdoor all the time, but I do get emails. And so it says, oh, your Los Paseos neighborhood neighbor reported this. And, you know, so I don't know, you know, if there's a discrepancy there, but it's their fault for not reporting it. So, you know.
Well, I'll take 2 minutes for this or less, I promise. Well, 94 seconds. That's how long I'll take. Here's the deal with Nextdoor. Yes, people go on Nextdoor and report it there, but don't report it to the police. This happens all the time because people are under the impression that like the police aren't going to be able to do anything. Whereas sometimes that's true. We might not be able to do anything about it, but it helps us to understand what's happening in the neighborhood. Even if we can't prosecute that crime or go out and catch that crook, it helps me to know where the problems are. So please report it. And if you see it on Nextdoor, tell them, hey, report it, because I'm not on Nextdoor. I can't see that. I'm not part of your neighborhood. The second part of that is that we'll see this. Hey, my friend was burglarized. And then that friend reports they were burglarized. And then another friend says, well, my friend was burglarized. And now everybody thinks burglaries are rampant, but it was actually only one house that was burglarized. So just be cautious of that, what you hear on Nextdoor. The first question should always be from you guys, hey, did you report it to the police? And if they didn't, they need to report it. And if they did, okay, cool. Tell them to get a hold of me and there's more we can do about that. All right.
I'll start putting a comment. Please report it.
Yeah, please do. Yeah.
Well, thank you. Thank you so much for your comments and presentation and just, you know, helping us understand what's going on, especially with the redistricting. And we appreciate you consistently coming to our meetings. It's a real benefit.
Yeah, there's something about Greg I like. That Herb guy, not so much, but Greg I really like.
You know, Greg's a very likable person.
Yeah, he is. All right.
So
thank you
guys so much. And Gavin, I know you've been patiently waiting. I'm so sorry that we're running late, but I think we're ready for your presentation. So we're going to introduce Gavin Comstock. He's with the Open Space Authority. He's going to be talking about some of their activities in and around our area, especially Coyote Valley, and introducing a new trail that's really right in our backyard. So Gavin, are you ready?
Karen, before I say good night,
yes.
I just want to make one comment. Hey, Captain, I'm told that Herb only comes there because he wants to find somebody to harass, and you are his favorite person to harass. So that's the only reason he comes. Okay, he doesn't care about the rest of the stuff what goes on here. Okay, so you better keep coming, otherwise Herb won't also come. You know.
So. He gave me the cell phone numbers of the other captains, so I can get them all.
Okay, all right. Okay.
Thank you.
Hey, good night.
Good night. Thank you so much for attending.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Okay,
Hold on while I
Yeah.
make Gavin co-host here. Hold on a second.
okay. And then,
Where'd he go?
Somewhere.
he got tired and left.
There you go.
All right. Thanks so much, Greg.
There you are.
Thanks, Karen. Yeah, been here the whole time listening in, and it's a pleasure to be here with you all tonight. If you'll just give me one moment, I'm gonna share my screen. And Greg, is that, you got the business? Everybody's seeing the opening slide.
Yep.
Fantastic. So it's really nice to be together with you all this evening. Karen and Greg reached out some time ago and invited me to offer a presentation to the Los Paseos Neighborhood Association. This isn't the first time that we've partnered. As far back as 2019, possibly before that, but my first interactions were definitely in 2019, around the time the Open Space Authority made the initial acquisition in North Coyote Valley of roughly 953 acres right there just south of your neighborhood, Laguna Seca, as we call it. Still has water in it today. Probably will get some more over the weekend. So I'm here tonight with my colleague, Teri Rogoway. She's our educational programs administrator, and I'm the volunteer programs administrator. Together, the two of us run all volunteer programs for the Open Space Authority. And so we just want to share with you a little bit about Mayyan, Ooyakma, Coyote Ridge, which is our newest open space preserve, which you can find, as you see in the slide, during the springtime. It is quite a spectacular site, known best for its wildflowers. So just to kind of lay the setting for what we'll share with you this evening, you can see here on the map, San Jose, the 10th largest city in the country, Los Paseos down there, center right, and just beyond that to the south on the eastern side of Highway 101 is Mayyan, Ooyakma, Coyote Ridge. Just trying to put this into perspective for everyone, because setting seems to matter in any good story. Just above my extremely technical drawings here, the yellow lines, we have San Jose, which you can see is a very urban, dense population. And then to the south of the other yellow line, you can see that's Morgan Hill. And in between is Mayyan, Ooyakma. And an even better way to show you this image and kind of what sets the stage for why this is such a special place is this image, which is taken, this is from the air, and we're looking west. I've kind of circled the rough boundary of this open space preserve in yellow. And Highway 101 is sort of running laterally along the top border of the preserve. And then in the distance there, you can see basically that's roughly 1,500 acres of conserved landscape. Much of that has been protected in the last 5 years by the Open Space Authority, the City of San Jose, the Peninsula Open Space Trust. And lucky for you all, that's right in your backyard. Actually, Los Paseos is just off the right side of this slide. And it matters because we live in such a special place with such incredible open space. And yet we are, here in California, in the Bay Area, one of the most densely populated areas in the country. And when you consider that, I'd just also like to introduce the idea that this image here in front of you shows biodiversity hotspots throughout the country. And if you look at the imagery in front of you, you'll notice that when you look at the West Coast, when you look at California, and particularly the Bay Area, we are in a major biodiversity hotspot, which is another feather in the cap. But it also paints the picture for why the work of the Open Space Authority is so rewarding for folks like Teri and I, and as well, one of the reasons that we love to share it with folks just like you all. We're balancing a place such as the Bay Area, which has an abundance of open spaces and an abundance of incredibly special species that we're, have the pleasure to enjoy and protect. And so
with us right here in Coyote Valley, and specifically our newest preserve, Mayyan Ooyakma, you know, that challenge is an incredible opportunity. So, come on, slides, don't fail me now. 1 second here. So what I want to do to start this off is learn to work my slides, is share with you just a short clip here. On the left here is Seth Adams. He's the land conservation director for a group called Save Mount Diablo. And I'm sure that you all are familiar with Mount Diablo up in the Bay Area. It is kind of the northern terminus of the Diablo Range. And on the right is Andrea McKenzie, who's the general manager for the Open Space Authority. This is just a short clip from a larger film on the Diablo Range, of which Mayyan Ooyakma is a part of. And it does a good job of kind of telling you all in brief what makes this place so special. As I've told you, you know, the wildflowers, we also have an iconic butterfly, and we have some really incredible people that are part of the story of this special place. So I'm going to play this video. It'll be about 2.5 minutes, and then I'll stop it and need to reset my slides. But here you go. Oh, wait 1 second before I do this. I think.
Make sure you shared it with audio.
Yeah,
yep.
I'm a step ahead of you. Thanks, though. I appreciate the support. Greg and I had a successful test run.
I always forget to mark that little box.
Totally. So just let me know if the sound is not working, but I have the setting.
Visitors who come in the spring should see stunning splashes of iconic California wildflowers, even a few endemic ones which grow nowhere else on the planet. We're greeted first by yellow wallflowers and later by fragrant fritillaries.
This is a rare species. It's a beautiful little native lily, Fritillaria liliacea, and very patchy. So there's like 10,000 plants in this area here. There's another patch that has like 2,000 or 3,000. It's very, very particular in its habitat preferences.
The primary host plant for the larvae of the bay checker spot is here too. It's Plantago erecta, or dwarf plantain. Later in the butterfly stage, checker spots sip nectar from goldfields and other wildflowers. These plants are partial to the area's serpentine soils because their chemistry discourages competition from non-native grasses.
So every year we come out and we do a bay checker spot butterfly survey where we count caterpillars. Or as we say, looking for larvae. So I come up with a population estimate every year across almost the entire range of the bay checker spot butterfly.
We see only a few butterflies on our tour, but Weiss says they're doing well elsewhere on the ridge.
We've had boom years where we'd be standing out here and you'd just be seeing bay checker spots flying all over the place. And this year they're down by a factor of about 100 from a couple of years ago, but that's what insect populations do.
Seth Adams puts Weiss on the spot. Does he see himself as the grandfather of bay checker spot conservation?
The bay checker spot is my muse, science and conservation muse. Because everything I ever learned about science and conservation, truly learned it, came out of the work I did with the butterfly.
Okay, so what is Coyote Ridge to you?
Center of the universe.
Yeah, so, you know, I just want to take a moment and say that Stu Weiss really is such a charismatic person, and we're really lucky to have him and the work that he's done at Coyote Ridge. And I hope you appreciated some of what that video shared, and maybe it piqued some questions for you, which I'll be happy to answer at the end. But I want to just take a moment and talk about Coyote Ridge. You know, for a long time, we've known about bay checker spot butterflies. They've been known and studied on a property north of us called Jasper Ridge. But late 80s, early 90s, Stu Weiss and a lot of his colleagues at Stanford discovered that Coyote Ridge, what we call Mayyan Ooyakma, was the largest area of serpentine grassland with a huge breeding population. And if it wasn't for that butterfly, the preserve probably wouldn't exist today. Stu Weiss has done incredible work, not just studying, you know, what we call charismatic mesofauna, but he's done incredible work achieving millions of dollars for conservation to protect this place. So we know that it's a serpentine grassland. And in that video, it talked about that's a low nitrogen soil content. And that's a really key aspect that makes it such a special place for wildflowers. As you can see in this photo, where you have serpentine grassland, where you have serpentinitic soil, there's a very low nitrogen content. And so European invasive grasses do not survive. And it makes it an excellent place for flowers to flourish. And you can see a line almost in the grass in this picture, where you have a more sedimentary based mixed soil with a higher nitrogen content, and therefore European grasses survive. And they outcompete flowers. They outcompete the host plant for the butterfly. And it kind of is a fairly boring landscape of just green grass. Greg asked me, well, how does that serpentine soil, form in such blobs and patches? And I told him I'd get back to him with a better answer. And the short answer is geology. The longer answer is that, serpentinitic soil is formed in the mantle of the earth, and through the geologic process of plates, crashing against each other and soils moving around, basically populations of serpentine soil get deposited. We're talking on a geologic scale, and then they just erode at different rates than the soil around them. And you end up with these pockets of serpentine soil that support very adapted native populations. That probably just sounds like a lot of big words, but it's what I'd tell you is that if you're interested in this, we have a plethora of really highly trained volunteers that love to lead hikes for folks just like you, and they'll take you as deep into that story as you want to go. And so, one of the things that we're really lucky to have here is a cast of characters that help us tell the story of conservation. I'm sure that you would appreciate the idea that special places seem to breed special people, and I would characterize Stu Weiss as one of those folks. There's very little he doesn't know about bay checker spot butterflies. And in 1999, he published a paper, Cows, Cars, and Checker Spot Butterflies, which really told the story of this intricate landscape and sort of all these different processes happening right outside Los Paseos' back door. We've got butterflies existing in this very special habitat. We've got this particular type of soil that really only exists right here at Coyote Ridge. This is the spot in California where we have a very high concentration of serpentine grassland. It's extremely rare. And we also have Metcalf Power Generation Center, as well as Highway 101 and a corridor right there, which is a major contributor of nitrogen gas. And Stu Weiss has documented the impacts of the nitrogen cycle and nitrogen deposition on that landscape. And he's been able to win millions of dollars, which have gone towards the protection and conservation of a place that I really hope many of you will come to enjoy now that it's an open space preserve that's available to you 365 days a year. One of the things that exists on all open space preserves for the Open Space Authority is cattle grazing. And a lot of people have opinions on it. They have questions on it. They wonder why. And at Coyote Ridge, it's actually a really exciting story. This image shows you what happens when you exclude cattle from grazing on a serpentine grassland. On the left, no cattle. On the right, cattle. They naturally select to eat the invasive European grasses. They keep that cover crop out of the way, and therefore we get these incredible displays of things like gold fields and tidy tips, California poppies, purple sanicle, all kinds of incredible wildflowers that you'll come to love and enjoy on your next visit out there. So cattle really do play this interesting story, and the star of the whole show, the bay checker spot butterfly. I never thought when I was in college that I'd find myself giving a presentation to a neighborhood association about butterflies. Just wasn't exactly where I saw myself, but here I am doing it. And I'm totally passionate and mean every word that I say. I was on the preserve today. I saw a bay checker spot butterfly. I was leading a hike for a group of naturalists from the Elkhorn Slough Foundation, and I saw them light up when we got to see a bay checker spot butterfly. they have a really interesting relationship. They coexist with the host plant, which is pictured at left, the dwarf plantain. And this is a tiny plant. It stands like 1.5 inches off the ground. I'd have to get you on your hands and knees to see it. Their larvae hatch on the plant. They consume the host plant, and then they start to move around as a butterfly and feed on nectar from the wildflowers that bloom around them. And like any insect, their lifespan is quick. So they're just starting to hatch out as butterflies right now, and they have a 10-day lifespan roughly. So in that 10 days, it's all about eating, mating, and making sure to fulfill the next generation. So, you know, it's kind of an exciting life if you think about it. They are active from December through May. They are, as I said, adults right now, like in March, April, May, they hatch and are active. And as Stu Weiss mentioned, you know, boom and bust is the life cycle of insects. 1 year, huge population growth. Next year, very little. We had a huge amount of rain last year, and it totally ripples through the natural cycles. More insects, more reptiles, more mammals that eat the reptiles. Like, it all is connected, not to be cliche. And the bay checker spot butterfly, as the slide says, like any Californian, loves a microclimate. And Mayyan Ooyakma is nothing but a series of microclimates. It's this incredible rolling hill landscape where, you know, we have little pockets of south-facing soil where the flower populations get much more sun and solar radiation, and they bloom earlier than those that are facing northeast. So the caterpillars that come from a southwest facing bowl, they'll hatch out earlier. They'll get more of a food source than those that are up from a northeast facing section that takes less solar radiation during the day. So if you love science, there's just this incredible resource for you, moments from your door, that you can really just go deep. Or if you just want to go and enjoy flowers, lucky for you, you've got literally one of the best wildflower places in the state within minutes of your house. I know everybody likes to talk about the Carrizo Plain, but maybe just, you know, you could go to Mayyan Ooyakma, save a little gas money, and come home just as fulfilled without having to drive all that way. So a little map, you know, to share with you, like, what is it that Gavin's talking about? What is this place? So the inset photo that says Malik Road Gateway, there is a large property here, and we have it divided into 2 zones. The Gateway property is 60 acres. The Open Space Authority owns that 60 acres, and we've concentrated all the visitor amenities in this zone. There is, you know, a parking area. There is a pit toilet. There is incredible interpretive signage. There's a trail called the Mayyan Overlook Trail that, you know, small children, anybody that doesn't want to hike a long ways can just go right from the parking lot and enjoy some incredible wildflowers. I was there today. It's in spectacular condition right now. And then the larger map image that you see is what we call the Habitat Protection Zone. And that's roughly 1,500 acres of land. It contains a 5-mile loop trail, and that's actually rolled in a regional habitat protection land. And we, a regional habitat protection plan. And we work with a group called the Santa Clara Valley Habitat Agency to make sure that we have a really good management plan in place within the habitat protection area. I'm not going to get into too many of the specifics other than to say these 2 zones, I point them out to you because the Gateway property is open 7 days a week. You can enjoy hiking in that area. You can take advantage of the restrooms. There's some picnic facilities. There are no trash receptacles at our open space preserve, so it is pack it in, pack it out. You do want to operate in kind of a zero waste attitude when you visit these preserves, but that is available to you for any day of the week, regardless of weather. The habitat protection area is actually open on a different basis. So if you were to visit there right now, Wednesday through Friday, you can visit the habitat protection area. All you have to do is obtain a butterfly pass from our website, which I'll tell you a little bit more about in just a moment. It only takes you maybe 1 minute and 30 seconds, and it kind of lays out the grounds for visitation. And right now, during wildflower season and during the peak of the butterfly's life cycle. On weekends, the way to access the habitat protection area is by joining one of our guided hikes. So this is just an image from this past winter when we had completed the new staging area. Prior to this year, we'd offer hikes out here, but it would just be a meadow. We'd park some cars there, and there was no bathroom. There was no nothing. Just you'd go on a hike with a volunteer naturalist and have a good time, but there were no services. This just to show you there is a pit toilet and a parking area for you. And as you can see, a really nice graded trail that takes you away from the staging area. Right now, everything is green. It's absolutely gorgeous. You will not be disappointed if you go to visit. And I want you to understand a little bit about the operating hours. Really, I just want to direct your attention to, this time of year. So if you will look at the fourth column, you'll see that the habitat protection area has a couple things noted. In the months of March, April, and May, you need to be on a docent-led hike, which is by reservation. There's no charge. We have all those registrations are available through our website if you want to go on a Saturday or a Sunday. If you'd like to go on your own, the preserve hours are 10 a.m. to 4 p.m. And you can go Wednesday, Thursday, or Friday with a butterfly pass, hike at your own pace. There's incredible interpretive signage. You don't need to be an expert to appreciate what you're seeing. And as I said, actually I haven't mentioned it, but on Mondays and Tuesdays, the habitat protection area is closed to the public. We need to leave a little bit of time for the wildlife to reset. And as this is enrolled in a habitat protection plan, our management plan is designed to try to cater to the iconic species we're protecting. So on Mondays and Tuesdays, while the habitat protection area might be closed, you can always enjoy the gateway property. On Wednesday and Thursday and Friday right now, if you've got a butterfly pass, you can go and enjoy as much of the property as you're able to take in. There's a 5-mile loop. It takes around 3.5 or 4 hours to hike. There are incredible wildflowers in bloom right now. And then if you'd like to go with an expert and learn as much as you can about the history of Coyote Ridge, Mayyan, Ooyakma, then you can attend a guided hike on Saturday or Sunday. There are 3 per day. They're about 3 hours each. And we have incredibly passionate, trained naturalist docents that are happy to share their knowledge with you on that hike. So I mentioned this thing called the butterfly pass. As Mayyan Ooyakma is a very sensitive habitat, it's kind of the crown jewel of the Bay Area in terms of wildflowers and really is in terms of parks available for the public. We just want folks that visit to understand a few things about it. If you've ever hiked in some of our other preserves, this one's just a little bit different. And so we have the butterfly pass system to try to communicate that to you. By filling out this pass, you understand that you're entering a sensitive habitat home to endangered species, that you agree to stay on trails, taking only photos or videos from the trail. You agree to stay off the rocks, not pick plants, and not harass wildlife. You agree to clean your shoes, your bike tires, or your horse hooves, if that's your mode of transportation, at the cleaning station prior to going on trail. We have cleaning stations when you enter the habitat protection area. There's an option to sign up for our monthly newsletter or our event calendar. Obviously, that's optional. We recommend it because it's the best way to stay informed on the activities that we offer to the public. As a governmental special district, all of the opportunities that we offer are free to the public, but we certainly offer a veritable plethora of things we hope you'll enjoy. So you fill this out, like I said, you can provide an email and then your butterfly pass will be emailed to you. You keep a screenshot on your phone. If you want, you can print it out. We have volunteer preserve stewards that help us keep this place in operation Wednesday through Sunday. When you arrive, they'll be happy to help you obtain a butterfly pass if you don't have one. If they find you on trail enjoying the preserve, they'll probably ask you if they can help you make your visit any better. They'll probably ask to see your butterfly pass. We want to make sure folks that are going out there have them. If you guys, any of you have questions about this afterwards, of course, myself or Teri can be made available to answer those questions. And I'd love to pass the mic to my colleague, Teri Rogoway, to just share with you a little bit of information about educational programs. I'm not sure if any of you knew this, but we do have Thule elk at Mayyan, Ooyakma. Maybe you didn't know that, but there are elk that live just moments away from your door.
The first time I ever saw one of those, I looked 2 ridges over and I thought, what is up with that funky looking sheep? Because the whole rear end is like really interesting, like with this really sheepskin type stuff. But they're actually really huge. They're like almost as big as horses. So if you get to see them out there, it's really a treat. We do have quite a few educational programs that happen. So on the weekends when you come out, you can come out Saturday and Sunday, and you can sign up for a docent-led hike, and that'll be at 10:30, 11, or 12:30. So it takes about 3 hours, and that's because they talk. So they stop and talk and teach you about stuff and answer your questions and things like that along the way. So you can actually register through links on our website. So those will take you to Eventbrite, which will sign you up. And if it is full, don't lose hope. It always helps if you want to hit the info or RSVP. You can click a link in Eventbrite to send me an email. You can also email me at trogoway@openspaceauthority.org. And if somebody bails and stuff like that, you might have a chance. Yeah. So don't give up hope if it ends up being full. If you are like me and you like to go at your own pace and take it all in, take pictures and things like that, you can go Wednesday, Thursday, or Friday. It opens at 10 o'clock. 10 o'clock is really the best time for the butterflies and the flowers to start waking up. So you'll hike up, and when you come back down, all the flowers are following the sun. So it's like they're looking right at you. It's awesome. I think you'll really like it. So we do have quite a few trained docents and volunteers and people that are really eager and waiting for you. So if you decide that you would like a group tour or something like that, you can also let me know, and I'll put my email in the chat. I'm organizing those at this moment, and we can set you up, just your group with a set of docents that can take you on a hike. And sometimes when we do that, we focus on things that are more to your interests. So if you have birders, we might do that. If you have people that like geology, we might do that. So we love to teach about whatever your passion is and what you're interested in learning about. Okay, so coming up on April 20th, we're going to do our own version of a Earth Day celebration at Mayyan, Ooyakma, Coyote Ridge. And so there will be about 4 little booths and lots of really fun little activities for people to do. So you can come on out and enjoy, and we'd love to see you. We're going to have some local artists come, and an opportunity for you to make art if you want to. You can do some watercolor painting with our resident watercolor artist, Ed Rooks, and meet some people from the community. So, and all of it is free of charge. We don't charge for anything that we do in that regard. Okay. So I'll put thank you for putting my email in there, Gavin. And if you have any questions, just feel free to email me or let us know, and we'd be glad to see you out there in the sunshine.
Thank you so much. I'm so excited. I've been, I was just texting my friends saying, we gotta sign up. And one of my questions was, why are they starting so late? 10:30, man, we usually hike, 9:30. So now you've explained it. So that's very helpful.
Yeah, so you'd be happy to know, Karen, that that the preserve hours from June through to November are actually 8 a.m. to 6 p.m. So if you're part of a group that wants to hike early, then we would actually encourage you to get out there and hike early, because you probably appreciate Coyote Ridge will get really hot during the summertime.
Well, that's what we were thinking. It's like, gosh, we better go early in April because it's going to start getting hot by 10:30, as May comes. So it's just funny that you're answering all our questions, but we're super excited about this. So thank you so much for the presentation. And just to plug you guys to sign up for their newsletter. I get their newsletter, and so there's a link there to sign up for these events, and it makes it really easy, and you get notified of all of their events and hikes other places, and it's a really good newsletter. I love getting it. And I'm definitely hoping to get out there in April.
Yeah, we would love to have you. Before we, give up the microphone, I see that Herb's asked a question. We'll be
Yes.
happy to answer that. I did want to just make the point that you've heard us say this name that might be sort of new or not roll off of your tongue, but the name Mayyan Ooyakma is actually something we're really proud of. We did a lot of work with the Ooyakma Ohlone tribe of the San Francisco Bay Area in creating this preserve. And the preserve is actually given a Chochenyo name. Mayyan Ooyakma means Coyote Ridge in the Chochenyo language, just like Mayyan Wai is Coyote Valley. That's Chochenyo for Coyote Valley. And so when you visit the preserve, you'll see a really incredible amount of interpretive signage that honors that heritage of those partners of ours in creating this place. And I think it's something that just adds to the value of the experience. So, Herb, did you want to ask a question?
Before Herb, there was a question in the chat about on the hiking trails, is it allowed to take a dog on a leash?
It's a great question, and unfortunately, no. The county park system does allow dogs in some of their parks, but the Open Space Authority does not allow dogs on our properties. So please leave your furry companions at home. I've got mine laying by my feet right now. I wish that I had a different answer for you, but thank you for leaving them at home when you visit our place.
Thank you.
Yeah, my question is the overall plan. We talked about the overpass a long time ago. What's the status on that overpass? And then connecting everything. I know you guys have been working really hard on connecting all the different areas, even Mount Umunhum, maybe at some point. And Laguna Lake, which is supposed to be a dry lake, but it's always got water in it. I'm wondering, the water district said they could use that as a perk pond. Do you guys have any future plans for
that? Herb, could you restate your question for me? You threw a lot at me there, so maybe pick one and I'll try my best to answer it. You want to ask about
the overpass was one of the things you guys showed us in 2019. We heard all about it. And then the connection to it all.
I'd be happy to connect you with some of my colleagues if you want to discuss the idea of a wildlife overpass. My job is volunteer programs. I'm not really the guy you want to engage on that topic. It's not really my wheelhouse. The Coyote Valley, you said the connection of it all. The 1,500 acres that I referred to that have been protected in North Coyote Valley and what we call Mid Coyote Valley is, as you've described, a huge connection point between the Santa Cruz Mountains and the Diablo Range. It's, 1,500 acres that connects over 1 million and remains, a very critical landscape connection point and something we're happy to be part of protecting. And I heard you mention Laguna Seca. So that's a seasonal wetland, and the entirety of the Coyote Valley conservation areas has a incredible role in giving us climate resilience. So one of the values of this landscape being protected is that somewhere like Laguna Seca exists where we can slow water down and spread it out when we get intense rainfall events, and hopefully prevent that water from getting downstream towards the more urban developed downtown San Jose areas where it does a lot more damage. So since 2019, we've been able to preserve, like I said, roughly 1,500 acres. And I want to say that about 300 of that is along Fisher Creek. You probably are familiar with Fisher Creek and the fact that it's got several 90-degree turns in it. And that's not a natural phenomenon. So among our goals is slowing down water, spreading it out, and seeing if we can address that riparian corridor as the water makes its way through Coyote Valley, north towards San Jose. Laguna Seca is a major water recharge zone for the aquifer, the drinking water of the city of San Jose. So having it slow down and percolate down into the soil there is certainly one way that, protecting nature kind of pays us back in a way. I heard you mention something about Valley Water, but not sure I copied.
So yeah, Valley Water was saying they were looking at it, and I don't know if they were talking to you about, making that a recharge pond, which you kind of said it is anyway now. But long term, it'd be a good lake we could go down to and maybe fish.
Yeah, I don't know if it'll ever be a fishing pond. It is what we call a seasonal wetland. So it's going to have water in it for roughly 6 months out of the year when we have a heavy rainfall year, less on the drier years. It's got a decent amount of water in it right now. But I don't know that it would ever be like a full year-round perk pond. We'll have to see about that. One of the biggest things we're studying in the Coyote Valley at this time is hydrology. I mean, that's the key to that landscape. So I'd be more than happy to connect you, Herb. My email is on the screen right now. It's also in the chat. And if you want to follow up with me for any deeper conversations, I'm more than happy to connect you with any number of my colleagues that really that's their pay grade, and they'd be happy to provide you with more in-depth answers. I hope I've, sated your curiosity at least a little bit.
Yeah, thank you.
So there's a couple little things on the screen here. Just wanted to make sure there's always an invitation to everyone in the Los Paseos neighborhood to join us as a volunteer. There's a lot of ways you can do that. That URL across the top of the screen is our volunteer website page that you can visit to see all the different activities we offer. I run a volunteer orientation that's about 45 minutes once a month for folks that are new and want to, learn a little bit about the Open Space Authority and what our volunteer programs offer. You can always join us for a land steward event. We've actually done some of these, Greg, in 2019. We hosted a few of those with LPNA. In the North Coyote Valley area. There's 1 or 2 of those a month. They're on a Saturday. It's very much just a show up and blow up kind of event. There's no training required. We'll provide all the tools. A great way to meet other volunteers and community members and get a feel for the Open Space Authority and what we're about. There's links from our website. And should you join us and find that, hey, you know what, I really enjoyed myself out there, I think I'd like to go deeper, then the first training that we offer to volunteers as a way to really set their foundation is called interpretive host training. We do that once a quarter. We give you a really good foundation in interpretive skills, what our volunteer roles are, and what it takes, to operate as an agency ambassador. We like to say that our volunteers are the gate openers, not gatekeepers. So anybody that wants to share this incredible place that is your backyard with the greater Bay Area, you would find yourself in a like-minded community if you were to join the Open Space Authority volunteers. So we're always ready for you when you want to come by and check it out. And again, Greg and Karen, thanks for the opportunity to speak with you all this evening and share what it is we love.
Oh, you're very welcome. I think Greg has his hand up. Did you have a question, Greg?
Yes. Yeah, thank you very much, Teri and Gavin. I'm so excited to spend more time out there now after this. I have a question. A while ago, Herb was mentioning overpasses. What about those underpass tunnels that went underneath, I believe?
Culverts.
Yeah, culverts. Are there, and I've heard there's plans to develop along Monterey Road, between Monterey Road and 101, that whole area there. Do you know much about that or what's going on there?
I'm happy to share what I do know. So one of the, as I've said, the Coyote Valley is a major wildlife corridor that connects the Santa Cruz and the Diablo Range. And so as an organization, we've put a lot of time and energy into studying the migratory patterns and what are the barriers, what are the chosen pathways that wildlife use to get from one side to the other. And interestingly, what we've learned is that Highway 101 actually has a fair number of passable culverts. There's one by the golf course that goes underneath 101 that's well documented use by wildlife to get under Highway 101. And there's actually a few other points as well where we know that they can safely cross. It seems to be known amongst the wildlife community, like, hey, these are the good zones. Monterey Highway is actually the really big threat of death for any wildlife. It's got a blockade that runs down the middle, which also has a wire fence on top of that. And basically what we see is wildlife trying to cross there, getting into the middle of the road, realizing, oh crap, I can't jump that thing. And then they get taken out by vehicles. And that's a frightening experience if you're a new or an old driver to have a wildlife encounter of that nature. So we're putting our efforts into figuring out what's the best way for us to provide safe passageway through Monterey Highway. That's also the corridor for a proposed high-speed rail. So we have obviously talks with those powers that be. We're all at the table together saying, is a wildlife, as Herb mentioned, an overcrossing, is that the solution that we want to go for? Is there a better way that we can achieve that? So to put it briefly, we've done pretty good radio collaring studies on bobcats that gave us a really good insight into where animals go and where are the problem spots. And I would say we're probably on more of like a slightly longer time frame. I would wager, 5 or 10 years of kind of getting to that point of a solution. My colleague, Nick Perry, who's the Coyote Valley Conservation Area's project manager, as well as Aaron Abear, who is our Natural Resources Department manager, are far more informed, and I'd be happy to make some connections for you all. We have some meetings actually for the Coyote Valley Conservation Area coming up this year that are community-based, where we would actually love it if you all wanted to attend and bring some of these questions to bear. That would be the perfect forum for you to kind of get those questions on the table and addressed, because it's among the goals of the Coyote Valley Conservation Area Master Plan.
Thank you. Thank you, Teri. Gavin.
Yeah, my pleasure. Any other questions out there? Is anybody dying to join us as a volunteer? I'm ready to sign you up.
I have to think about that.
As I like to say, all I can ask is all that you have. So let's party.
Yeah.
Gavin, do you have dates for those community meetings yet?
No, ma'am. I do not have them offhand. It's an excellent question. And if you'd like to just drop me a simple email, I'd be more than happy to connect you to the folks that can tell that to you.
Okay.
I would imagine they're going to be in the newsletter, right? So I get the newsletter. Greg, do you get the newsletter? Do any of you guys get the newsletter?
No.
Okay,
I
we
don't,
all
but I
need to
will
get the
sign up
newsletter.
for it.
Yeah, it's a great newsletter. I love your newsletter. So yeah, I'll be informed and I can pass this on as well.
Great.
Well, thank you so much. Awesome information. And yeah, you're passionate about the checker spot butterfly is, what's the word? What's that word?
Palpable.
Well, no, it's like,
Admirable.
Infectious.
Admirable.
Infectious would be that's the word I was looking for. Infectious. So I was like looking at those, like the caterpillars and I'm thinking me and Trish, my friend hiking, and how excited, I can't even imagine the excitement if we saw that blob of that whole group of caterpillars. We would be like beside ourselves. So that's really fun and exciting, and I can't wait to get up there.
Yeah.
She just signed while I was talking. She went ahead and signed us up for mid-April. So
we'll look forward to seeing you out there.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. It was
Thanks.
awesome information.
My pleasure.
So I think we're coming finally to a close of our meeting, and I think the only other thing is just to let people know that Greg, you had the date of our next meeting. I can't remember when it is. You had a slide or something.
June 20th.
Thursday, June 20th.
June 20th. So we only have meetings quarterly. So hopefully, we'll see some of you at the next meeting in June. And I don't know, is there anything else that we need to talk about?
I don't think so.
Jen?
Okay.
Raising your hand, Jen?
Yeah,
Oh,
I just
Jen.
wanted to say that I really appreciated you guys having the signs out for as long as you were able to have the signs out. It's helpful for those in the neighborhood to get a good long warning that the meeting is coming up. So thank you so much for that. Keep up the great work. You guys are awesome. We really appreciate you.
If you have any other suggestions, we did do a couple things this time. We worked with Adrian at the LPHOA. We worked with, we did send out some feelers to some other HOAs, you know, with the other, what do you call them, apartment complexes and townhome complexes. So if you have any suggestions on how to get the word out, let us know.
I had one thing. I don't know if everybody knew Rich Saito. He was in our neighborhoods, was in CERT. He passed away this last week. So
Oh dear.
we lost a great man that helped us a lot with communications, was an educator in CERT, and it'll be really missed. So yeah.
Oh,
What was his
sorry.
name?
Rich Saito.
Rich, okay.
Oh,
I think he came to some of our barbecues or was out there. You know,
Yeah.
Too bad.
He
well,
was
like,
at the
man.
he was at the last dumpster day too.
Oh, that's right. He helped at the dumpster day with us.
Yeah, he sat with me at the table there. Yeah.
Yeah.
I have to I can't picture him, so I have to get a picture or
He
something.
drove a Harley.
Yeah, he drove a Harley.
Yeah.
And he was very active in the Japanese Heritage Museum. He was a
Yeah,
docent
he was a
down.
docent there.
Yeah.
Karen, I'll send you a video memorial that somebody.
Okay.
oh, cool. That would be nice.
Another
Yeah, we're
thing
gonna
that's
have
a
an
really-
event.
Can you send that to me, Greg? I haven't seen that.
Yeah. Who was that?
Michelle.
Oh, yeah.
Michelle Dexter.
One of the other things I wanted to say about, you were saying if we had any other ideas about reaching out, you know, Herb's pretty good about texting. So he's like, you know, get on the meeting. He'll send a text. If there are people that are willing to sign up to receive a text, I think that would be great because a lot of the community is all about, I mean, that way you can do it even an hour beforehand and say, you know, we're doing this. I would certainly sign up for a text. So
Yeah, we have to look into that. How is that distributed? What do we need to sign up for that? I don't know if any of us know that.
it's just a group text. I think Herb's got, you know, 50 of us on one already. Maybe he'd be willing to
Really?
do it.
Oh.
It's
No, I
50,
haven't.
but-
I just sent it to you because you don't remember. At least Damon's
No,
on here. You guys can't-
but it's a good
guys
idea
aren't
to
like
have
the
a
veterans.
group
You don't sit
text.
together. What the
I
heck?
mean, it's like the campaigns. You know how the campaigns do? They send you a text and oh, donate or oh, we have this event. That's a great idea. Why can't we implement something like that with the people that we have phone numbers to?
Yeah, well, I blocked Herb like months ago, so.
Hey, don't say anything. I went after DOT about the guys riding across the Burnell. So I got DOT working on that, and I talked to the guy, Cornell Bailey, about getting lights out to those people so we can see them when they're in the middle of the night running their bikes across the road.
No, I love you, brother. You know that I
I know, I
do.
appreciate you too.
I have a question for Michael Van Dam and maybe Angelou. Michael, how did you look at the signs that we placed around the neighborhood, and what better way to get more input out there? Or same question to you, Angelou. Michael, are you able to talk about it? You're on mute.
There he is.
I walk my dog every day, so I saw the signs as soon as they were up.
Do you get our emails as well, or?
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
And I see the things on Nextdoor.
So you're kind of more engaged. What about you, Angelou? How did you find out about us? If you can share.
Oh, I saw the sign on the sidewalk.
The sign when you were walking?
Yeah, actually I drive past by.
Okay, and you stopped to get the QR code?
Yeah, I stopped by, I scanned the QR.
Okay. So somewhat effective. Yeah.
We'll keep working on it.
Yep, we'll keep working on it. Okay, well, I don't know if there's anything else. We appreciate you guys hanging out there. I think we just should make it 7:30 to 9:30 or 7 to 9. It's just, we always say 8:30 and we never end at 8:30.
Yeah.
Let's just be real.
Hey.
And you know.
Motion to adjourn?
Yes, I agree.
Thank you.
Second that
everybody.
emotion.
All right.
Second that emotion. Second that motion.